Okay. One second. Okay, can everyone see my slides?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Just
All right, I can start with a few.
give me 1 more minute and we can start.
Okay.
Okay, Karrah, let's start, please.
Okay, perfect. Are you seeing the breakout room in progress? Is that on your monitor as well, or no?
No, it's only you and me.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm really excited for you to join today's noon conference. It is a different type of lecture as a part of the Global Health Series. Today, we're going to discuss and learn the NIH stroke scale, but in Haitian Creole. What we will do, we'll first gain a little bit of insight into the origin of Haitian Creole. I'll very briefly go over some historical facts, and then we'll discuss language in general as a barrier to healthcare. Of course, I am going to focus on stroke management in the acute and chronic setting, but it is something that I'm sure we all come in contact with across the board. Then we will have some fun and we'll review the Haitian Creole stroke scale. And then finally, we will jump into breakout rooms and we could practice saying the phrases and continue to learn. As we near the end of the lecture, we'll share some creative problem-solving tools that Hazel has been working on, and then we'll wrap up. So Haiti is located in the western part of the island of Hispaniola, between the Caribbean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean. Its climate is humid and very tropical, and most of the terrain of Haiti is mountainous. Now, unfortunately, over the centuries, there has been a lot of campaigning for deforestation. Decimation of the natural flora and the wildlife has made Haiti largely dependent on imported goods to sustain and feed its population. The indigenous people of Haiti are actually Arawak-speaking Indians, and they are known as the Taino. Now, the Taino people actually populated many of the Caribbean islands that is in existence today, as well as some of the northern regions of South America and the part of the United States that is now called Florida. Many of their tribes were the indigenous peoples of the region. And in the Arawak language, the name for Haiti is actually called Haiti, which means mountainous land. Even today, Haitian people refer to themselves as Haitian, people of the mountainous region, and they will again refer to Haiti as Haiti. In 1492, Christopher Columbus steps onto the world stage, and when he arrives to the Caribbean, the decimation of the Taino people follow. And this is important because this actually triggers a cascade of events, largely starting the Spaniard portion of the African slave trade in that region. But it's not until the 17th century that Louis XIV of France settles with Spain and signs a treaty in 1697, claiming officially the western part of the island as part of the French colonial empire. And Haiti used to actually be called the Pearl of the Antilles, the Pearl of the Mountainous region, because it made France very, very wealthy with its sugarcane plantations. This actually establishes a regulated slave trade. And this part is very important to keep in mind, especially as we begin to think about the origins of Haitian Creole, because most of the African slaves brought to the Caribbean are coming from Western Africa. And although this region has names like Senegal and Sierra Leone, Africa was and remains quite tribal, and each tribe has its own language and cultures. So during the slave trade, this is all being brought over to the Caribbean, and Creole, in large part, has a lot of words that's a mixture of these original African dialects. Of course, French being the colonial power, there's a lot of French words and a lot of French influence in the language. However, it's important to remember that it is a separate language. In August of 1791, we have the start of the French, decline in Haiti with the start of the Haitian Revolution. During this period of time, men such as François Macandel, Boukman, Toussaint Louverture, Henri Christophe, and Dessalines, they take their place in history. And in January 1st of 1804, Haiti is an independent nation. It's the first slave colony to declare itself free from colonial rule. And we recently celebrated Independence Day, January 1st, this past year. And during this time, it is very traditional that we eat a soup called soup jumeau. And it's stewed meat and vegetables in largely a calabasa, kind of a pumpkin-like soup. And this was what the slaves made, and we've carried that tradition, and we always drink that on January 1st, which is our Independence Day. Unfortunately for Haiti, since its independence, there have been a series of economic and political instabilities, in addition to natural disasters that have plunged Haiti into chronic poverty. And this has led to a lack of sustaining infrastructure, specifically, but not limited to, its healthcare system and education system. Now, this effect on language is important, and I'll explain further why I bring that up. Haitian Creole is what's used in daily language. If I'm going to the market, if I'm talking to my family members at home, I'm going to speak Haitian Creole. However, the more formal arenas, especially in the education system, I would be taught in French. And what's evolved over time is that there's been a lack of linguistic evolution, I would say, in how written Haitian Creole has evolved. And so terminology, some of that does not exist, especially when it comes to finding ways to describe medical terms. The other thing to consider is that because there's a lack of access to the formal education system, not every person from Haiti will be fluent in reading, writing, and speaking French. And so what's happened is that when you ask a Haitian person, do you speak French? Sometimes it can be a loaded question because the backdrop to that is, have you been formally educated? And for many of our patients, that may not be so. So that's another reason why I'm really excited to have this lecture and to talk a little bit about the origin of the language and shed light on some of the cultural aspects of the evolution of the language. Now that we've discussed how language can be a barrier for those living in Haiti, I wanted to move forward to what happens when they arrive at our door to access medical care. And I wanted to ask the audience, has there been a time where language was a barrier to you during a code or even an encounter in clinic? If you wouldn't mind sharing a very quick example of when that was the case. Anyone can jump in.
Yes, basically every time I see a Haitian Creole speaking patient, it is a barrier. And sometimes I find myself, they'll have like between the interpreter and the patient, we'll have a minute-long conversation, and then they'll say like one simple thing, and I have no idea if that's what the patient was, that's what the patient was trying to say or not.
Exactly, that happens a lot. Even I'm, trying to, with other languages, I should say, that has been a barrier for me as well. Thank you for sharing that. In thinking about language as a barrier, I did a little bit of looking around, and I wondered, is the language a barrier in terms of acute stroke management? And in this article, the American Heart Association's Get With the Guidelines stroke program analyzed data from about 3,800 acute stroke patients. And this was from 2003 to 2014. And about 10% of the patients in this study were non-English speaking patients, and they represented over 25 different languages. When they looked at the care given, specifically IV thrombolytic therapy, there was initially a discrepancy. And actually, the non-English preferring patients seemed to more likely than the English preferring patients to receive IV thrombolysis. The odds ratio was 1.6, and it was significant with a p-value of 0.02. However, when they adjusted across age, sex, NIH stroke scale score, there was no difference between the non-English speaking patients and the English preferring patients when it came to getting IV thrombolytics. This is a graph, a table representing that same finding. And I'll just draw your attention to the fact that for the fully adjusted set of data, there was no difference between their rate of receiving therapy when there was no interpreter around. However, as it should be, their NIH stroke score itself was the determining factor. So it's good to know that despite the barriers in clinical analysis, forming the exam, patients are still getting equitable care. There are other arenas where language can be a barrier. And in this article, the main finding seemed to be with stroke education and whether or not they were considered for rehabilitation. At this particular institution, they actually had quite a robust resources. They had 24/7 in-person professional medical interpreters. They had a lot of telephone enabled and video enabled interpretation tools, and they still found that there was a discrepancy. And the result of a lot of surveys and talking to their clinicians seemed to lead to three main points. So the first reason why there was a discrepancy was that the treating clinicians actually had a perceived lack of availability in the professional medical interpreters, even though there was not. So a lack of knowing which extension to call, just how to enact that system. There was also a timing component. Many clinicians felt that to provide the best care, the time that it took to get an interpreter took away from getting the patient to the CAT scan or even getting the initial full exam. Thirdly, many patients did seem to prefer that their family member act as their interpreter. And we all know that sometimes that's not really adequate because fluency in a language does not always translate to medical literacy in that same language. Another interesting point from this article was that there was a perceived English proficiency of the patient themselves. So many times they say, oh no, I don't need an interpreter. However, after the encounter, there were a lot of gaps in their understanding of their medical condition. I did a fishbone diagram to look at Kings County and downstate in terms of what might be some of our specific barriers in getting a language interpreter. The first, and if you guys have things to add to this, please jump right in because, of course, we all have different experiences and I would love to be further informed. The first category, medical knowledge, I put here lack of medical terminology in written Haitian Creole. And this I alluded to earlier in talking about the lack of linguistic evolution to written Haitian Creole. Creole is very phonetic. A lot of the words are said how, I guess, sound as it's written. But there are, because of that, many different ways of spelling the same word. And I found a huge discrepancy and paucity of medical terminology in particular. Medical literacy among patients. This is linked to the difficulty that many people have in accessing just general education. Under machine and materials, I have that the blue phones are difficult to find. I'm sure we've all had the unfortunate experience of going into a drawer, taking the phone, finding the port, it's not working, or one of the phones is not working. This is delaying in care as well, and can be very frustrating. Now, more than ever, in the area of COVID, we now have iPads. However, specifically at Kings County and downstate, I have to say that it can be very difficult to find the iPads. Under people and personnel, there are in-person interpreters, especially for Spanish and Haitian Creole, available at Kings County and downstate. However, the ease in reaching them, I think, has been the barrier. There are some, they're not many, but there are some. So I put lack of person interpreters and then perceived lack. So many people might have thought there were none, for example, and never requested or tried to request their services. Under communication, I have French in context. As I said earlier, Haitian Creole and French are two separate languages. And sometimes when you ask a patient, do you speak French? They will say yes. And wrapped in that, and I don't want to make any blanket statements about how people perceive their own level of education, but it is common that wrapped in that is, are you educated? And so the answer will be yes, despite the medical proficiency not being where it should to understand what's happening to them. Perceived proficiency, both in English and in French, and then written material in Haitian Creole. And I think that is also a barrier to effective care. Processes. I tried to find this, but I don't think there's an extension where we can say, hi, I need a Haitian Creole interpreter. Usually I would call patient relations, and then they would try to find someone for me. I know at MIMO, for example, for Mandarin and interpreters, there is an extension, and it's very easy to get an in-person, face-to-face interpreter by contacting them directly. And I did find that useful many times. I put misclassification of aphasia here because there have been times where I've received an NIH stroke score, and especially with aphasia, when I repeated the exam, the patient actually scored less. They were able to repeat, they were able to name, and so it may very well be that the administration of the stroke scale in English does lead to a misclassification of aphasia for primary Creole speaking patients. Lastly, an environment is ED Wi-Fi for the Cyricom. There is an app, and many of you who know me know that I'm not the most tech savvy. However, this is a particular barrier for me, just finding consistently reliable Wi-Fi in the ED. I think that also has been a barrier. And then there's an actual Cyricom phone that's usually in the asthma room in the ED, and that too is not always present, or it's not always charged. Is there any other barrier to getting access to interpreters that I didn't mention that can be thought of? Okay.
I think you covered it all.
Thank you. So in light of this, I began looking for a validated form of the NIH stroke scale. It's really important that it is standardized because you want your scores, of course, to be reproducible and accurate. And there is none. I actually spent the majority of my preparation for this lecture in looking for what has already been done. And sadly, there really hasn't. There's been effort. There are many physicians actually who go to Haiti all the time and travel, and they're providing neurological care, and they're making, headway in that way. However, an official validated score has not been created. And so I have undertaken the interesting task of doing so. So I want to say that this is not validated. What I've done is thought of the questions I would normally ask while performing the stroke scale. And luckily, a lot of it's very simple already. The structure of the NIH stroke score really lends itself to easy translation. And then I did a few test runs. I spoke to family members. I spoke to other healthcare providers who are native Creole speakers, just to make sure that the particular spelling and the phrase translates closely to its English counterpart. So what I would like you guys to do, which might be painful, but we can do it, is I would like everyone to participate in this part where I'm going to first say the English version, then I'm going to say the Creole version, and for just this slide, I would like everyone to repeat what I say. It'll just get you used to saying the words, and then after this slide, we are going to break into breakout rooms and have some privacy with trying to say these words. But it would be great if everyone would fully participate with this part. Okay, so the first phrase, what is the month, is qui mois lié. Can you guys try and repeat that for me, please?
Qui mois lié.
Dis-moi lié.
Thank you. That's beautiful. Oh my gosh, you guys are going to be fluent. Next phrase is how old are you? Qui l'âge?
Qui l'âge?
Beautiful. Open your eyes is ouvrez yeux.
Ouvrez yeux.
Yeah, that was pretty close.
Can you
Okay.
repeat it? I'm sorry.
Yes. I'm so happy to repeat it. Okay. Ouvrez yeux.
Ouvri yeux.
Yes.
Yes.
So, Karrah, I recognize as I'm saying these that, I mean, written, it's completely different, but this sounds very
French.
similar to my middle school knowledge of French. So
Yes.
I'm curious how when I use my middle school French with Creole, I mean, some of it is it's not, you know, perfect French, but how good or bad is that for, you know, a
No,
very
it's good.
basic.
They're going to pick up on a lot of what you're saying. They are going to understand, I would say, probably enough to get some of your exam accurate. I'm thinking across the board, especially as we get to the later parts of the exam, for example, with aphasia, or, you know, that's where the discrepancy might be more present. So they will understand. I mean, some of the words are exactly the same. For example, right and left. So you're right in that sense that that heavy French influence that's already there is very, very helpful.
Karrah, I just have a
Yeah.
quick comment. So when we were
Yeah.
kind of going through this and thinking about this, right? So you did mention to me, I'm not sure, maybe you mentioned this earlier in the talk, that even though, as you mentioned, there is this significant French influence, but you mentioned that there's this education barrier, right? And you said that
Yes.
a lot of the patients that do come into your ED, they want to speak French, but they don't, right? And there are differences. And so you told me, correct me if I'm wrong, but you told me that sometimes they will try really hard to answer the questions, but sometimes maybe inappropriately, right? When you do speak to them in French. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. Because they can, you know, they begin to, you know, you can the similarities enough where they kind of know what you're saying. And they really, in that environment, of course, they want to be proficient and they want to perform. They really want to do well. And so they will try. And a lot of times, yes, it's similar, but because of the context of the language, I do know that it does lend to more stress during the exam than it is helpful.
And maybe some errors you mentioned to me as well, right? Because
especially when it comes to aphasia. Absolutely.
Yeah, so maybe it's important to know that, you know, if you do have middle school or fluent French, it's still different from Haitian Creole, right? So just something to think about as you guys do these.
Thank you. Okay, guys, we're almost done with this slide. I know it's a little bit corny. I am really excited. Okay, the next, make a fist. So this is for the command portion of our stroke scale. Fais un point ak main. That might be longer and harder to say. I'll say the first 3 words and then I'll say the last 3 words. So we can repeat the first 3 together and then the last 3. Fais un point. You guys can do it.
Fais un
Fais un
point.
point.
Yes.
Yon point.
Yes. Ak meu.
Ak mail.
Perfect.
Acmeo.
What does akameo mean?
So I added, so it really means with your hand. So fais un point could also be like punch me kind of. So I wanted it to really be a specific motor instruction, like make a fist with your hand. So you're just making that movement.
Hang on, I have a question. Whoa.
Okay, second to last one. Ouvri meu.
Remel.
Perfect. Suive
Meal.
doigt ak jeu. This is for the extraocular movement part. Suive doigt ak jeu.
Sweet wet mel at gel.
Beautiful. So now what I'm going to do, guys, give me 1 minute. I'm going to put everyone into breakout rooms and we're going to be in smaller groups.
Wait,
And
Kira, I have a
what-
question.
Yes. Yes.
I have a question. Okay, so I'm sorry, I missed the first part of this lecture where you were talking about the history of Haitian Creole, but I did catch the part where you said that there's no validated NIH stroke scale in Haitian Creole.
Yes.
Haitian Creole is a French-based Creole, and there are plenty of other French-based Creoles all over the world, including inside France itself. So there's Creole in Guadeloupe and in Martinique,
Yeah.
in Réunion. My question is, those are integral parts of France. Is there a similar instrument like the NIH stroke scale that's used there that isn't in standard French that we could be using here?
I did not find one. That's a great question. Maybe I, can keep looking, but I did not find one.
Okay.
It's interesting, for the MOCA, there were plenty of, standardized and validated translation, even in just, in French, Spanish, but for the stroke scale itself, I did not find that to be the case.
Do we know, I have realized that we're missing the two people who would probably best be able to answer this question. Do we know if the NIH stroke scale is used in France or in French-speaking countries, or do they use a different instrument?
I don't know. That's a great question.
Because I'm sure, people have strokes all over the world. France it has like a robust healthcare and medical research system. I would be surprised I'd actually be surprised if they use the stroke scale, if they use the NIH stroke scale. I would expect them to use
maybe that there are other stroke scales that have been validated in France, such, that we could potentially use.
The pathophysiology is also different because their arteries get clogged directly with free.
That's true. Yeah.
That is true.
When they thrombectomize someone, they're just pulling camembert directly out of their brain.
Okay, I'm almost done with the breakout rooms. Give me one more minute, and then we will start practicing.
Karrah, one question before we break out. Why is I've heard that Kings County described as the Hopkins of the Caribbean. Why did this population end up in like Prospect Leopard Gardens?
Because they let them know that Matt would be a resident. I'm really not sure. There's a large Haitian population here in Brooklyn. The largest is actually in Florida, in Miami, Florida. But as to why particularly this region, I could guess at some reasons, but I really don't have a foolproof answer for that.
Thanks.
Of course.
Karrah, meanwhile, what's going to be the instructions once the people join the breakout rooms?
So once you join the breakout room, you are going to, I have the other, the rest of the NIH stroke scale, and you are going to practice saying it. There's going to be, between myself and the other native Haitian speakers, Sabrina Aria, who's been gracious enough to join us, we're going to practice in smaller groups, and then we are going to just try it out, and then we'll come back to the main room. Sorry, there's a lot of separate people. So if you guys could start to join your rooms, And what I will do, okay. Sorry, guys. I thought I could click faster. Is everyone in an assigned room? Hi, guys.
Karrah, the only
Can
thing is like, yeah, the only people that are gonna hear you is gonna be inside the main room. So you can like broadcast the messages.
Oh, I see. So, I might have. Are you guys able to see my screen still with the NIH stroke scale in Haitian Creole?
In the breakout rooms, no, I'm not able to see that.
Oh, in the breakout rooms. Oh my gosh. Okay. Hold on. I'm gonna solve this problem.
Hazel just put a picture of the first one in the group, so you can.
I see.
I don't know, I guess without the cards, I'll never remember this, but.
I'm going to, I just realized a shortcoming. 1 second. 1 second.
I mean,
Let me just write something to the all groups.
I'm going to just post,
Karrah, you're sending this through WhatsApp?
yeah, I realized that people don't, I thought that they would be able to still see it.
So I'm writing to all the breakout rooms, like a broadcast message. They're able to see that.
Okay. I'm also gonna just, I'm gonna put it in the group.
So should I just tell them on the broadcast message to try all these like slides?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Very good. So let me do it.
Okay, can my breakout room, oh, you know what happened? I'm not in my breakout room on my,
I mean, there's going to be an issue because there are some attendants that are not in the group. Let's see. There it goes.
No, it's just me.
Oh,
Yeah, it's just me. I'm just doing some work on the side, but I wanted to be present for this lecture, so don't mind me. I'm just
you
helping.
don't want to join to one of the rooms at Trinidad?
I do. We're so busy at MIMO though, so while they're practicing, I figured I'll get some work done.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks, sorry. I should learn it though, even though it rarely comes up at MIMOs, you know. But I'm still curious.
Yeah, no, it's very nice. Okay, let me try with I'll try it with Murray, and I'll talk to you in a bit.
Yeah. I'll be here.
Okay, Murray, do you want to try?
Sure. If I turn on the video, it breaks the camera, so we'll leave it off.
Yeah, don't worry. So you had the first slide.
Yeah. All right. So what is the month? Quinoa layer.
Kimalia. Oh, that's good. Yeah. And then the next one.
How old are you? Kilajo.
Kilajo. Yeah.
Open your eyes. Orejo.
Yeah. Obreo. Yeah.
How do you do that one?
I mean, I think it's Obreo. That's what I understand from Karrah.
Okay. And then close your eyes. Femen, jo.
Femenyo. Yeah.
It's ye or je?
I think it's GI, but we can ask Karrah on. Okay. That's what we're thinking.
And then make a fist.
This one was long, so I was kind of like struggling.
Feyon Puen Akmino.
Feyon Puen Atmenu.
Is it an ooh? It's not it's ooh.
Ooh, okay.
Over and then ooh.
Ovrem and O.
Sweep, but when up your ooh.
Okay. Sweep, dwell, man at you.
The patients will look at me like I have 6 heads.
We need to train like multiple times with this.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important ones are probably the ones that that you can understand their answer one, and the ones that can't be mimicked. So I follow my finger with your eyes, like, and get them to do that somehow.
Yeah, no, you can do like action wise, you can mimic the movement so they can understand. So that's gonna be easier. But then the ones
I won't understand their answer.
yeah, that's it. They say like something. Yeah, like the age. So like sometimes can be difficult. You can get it if you are like had like some basic like French. I think you can get something.
I don't. Okay, let's see what's next.
Well, so next is gonna be look at my nose. Oh, that's difficult. So
Smile one, read.
which one is that?
Smile is a very easy one.
And what is it? The look at my nose or which one?
Smile.
Smile, read, yeah.
Okay. Never to the brow is an arm. Never Jean doit.
So it's asking also for the time. So I also like just asking to just keep that up. Okay, let me see. Lever to the bras et puis camber pour 10 secondes. What about the legs?
Lever jambe droite haut et puis camber pour 10 secondes. Okay.
Okay, lever jambe droite ou et puis camber pour 10 secondes.
I wonder which part practice means lift your arm or lift your leg.
So the bra is part of the arm, and I think the drum is the leg, and then you have the you can say the gauche is gonna be the left, and droit is gonna be right. Okay, then the other part is a little bit more difficult. Like this command is very complicated.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna try that one.
Yeah.
Even in English, patients don't understand that one.
Yeah. Oh, even like asking them for the recognizing like some objects. So you need to point it and you need to know what they're talking about. Mhm. Okay, then you have the feature. Cinquante, cinquante. Can you see the 50-50? Cinquante, cinquante. Mercy, Huckleberry.
Oh. Not 50-50, cinquante. So the problem with this is it's not, it's for a, that's not for aphasia, that's for dysarthria. That does not translate.
Yeah.
Correct.
Correct.
Because that's not valid. That's 50-50. It's because we want them to pronounce the F
Yep.
and the T.
Yeah. That's correct.
Baseball. Yeah.
So the repetition one.
Right.
Oh. Okay, non Kijan.
The sun, so that's it.
Yeah.
Late or late.
I think it's gonna be like as it sounds, like phonetic, like latte, and that's what I think.
Sounds selected.
Yeah. So I got home from work. It's gonna be main river like que muen so travail. Ooh.
Near the table in the dining room. Wait a minute. Manje.
Manje, oh, okay. So I'm gonna do the heard him speak on the radio last night. J'entendais les parler sur radio du soir. So I think it's very like when you have to do commands that are like very long, it's very complicated. So you have to be on a standard, like shorter version to it. Would be nice.
Yeah, I mean, I guess she was trying to make it validated, but try to make it as close to that as possible to what would be a validated one. But it's a little and impossible. The first card is good.
The first one, yeah. That's a good one. Okay, do you want to go back to the main session?
Okay.
Okay, let me do that.
Recording in progress.
Karrah. Wait.
Can you guys hear me now? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So what I said before quickly is that since we're running out of time, I'm going to quickly just say a few of the phrases, and then I'm going to let Hazel talk about her innovative solution. So thank you so much for your patience. Look at my nose and tell me when you see movement. This is what I would say if I'm checking for visual field defects, and that's gardez-moi, dim le mouvement. Smile is ri. Lift your arms and hold for 10 seconds. Levez tous les deux bras hauts et piquez belle pour 10 secondes.
Karrah, the
The
presentation, we can't see.
I'm sorry?
The presentation screen, if you're showing it, we can't see.
Oh my goodness. What is going on?
Okay, we see it now.
Okay. Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think at this point, because we're almost out of time, what I'll do is I'll send out these slides, and I'm happy to participate with people, everyone actually, on a more individual basis. And I'll work out the kinks with the breakout rooms, and having the material disseminated. But I did want to give Hazel a few moments to talk about her innovative solution for the response portions. And we will print out the aphasia testing cards. These are for the statements that they can repeat, and these are the phrases that we normally ask. For the photo, it's really difficult to translate and help with the response for that, but we'll continue to triage how we would do that. And so Hazel, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, and then I will let you share what you've been working on.
Hey guys, so Karen, I did the part for the aphasia testing because almost all of the commands were a little bit confusing for me, but I think Karen needs to go over one more time. But basically, I did it for myself, these cards, but I'm gonna leave them in B5 actually so that we can train. It's basically, we did laminated, we're about to complete the laminated cards in Creole. And I'm gonna leave this box in B5. So it has buttons on it, and it's in Creole. And once you press on it, it speaks in Creole. I was actually thinking that if this was helpful, I was gonna use it for my own stroke codes, or I can leave it in the ED, or we can just use it for the training parts. I have only the naming part of this thing that's going on. So for this part, for example, it has the aphasia objects, and if you press on it, it tells you the Creole version of the object. And at the top, there's a button that shows you how to ask the question. So if you press on this button, for example, it says "Kisa saye," which means what is this? And then you press on this, for example, it says "Chez." And I can leave it in B5. This part is like mama, tip tap, 50. So it shows you how do they pronounce it. I will leave this in B5 for you guys to train. And Karrah is also gonna, I think we were planning to do this in a Creole speaker's voice because the one I did is in French speaking, which is not correct. So we are gonna record this in a Creole speaker's voice. And I'm gonna leave this for everyone to train so that we can at least do the aphasia part. The aphasia part is very important, and for patients with the language barrier, I think it's the most skipped part. I can understand to some extent that they have weakness on one side or not, but the aphasia part generally impossible to know, at least without doing some kind of naming.
Yes. Thank you, Hazel. And thank you guys for all of your participation. We will troubleshoot some of the technological difficulty parts, but nonetheless, I really was excited to talk a little bit about Haitian Creole and to practicing some of the phrases with you.
Hazel, this is great. Can you make this for other languages at MIMO as well?
I actually made this in Mandarin and Creole.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, it's
Hazel,
awesome.
you have to monetize that. That is a valuable piece of technology that I think programs should expect to pay $10,000 for.
Hazel and Karrah, I do think you guys should think about publishing this, right? Like Karrah validating the NIH stroke scale, and same thing for you, Hazel, and then maybe incorporate using this Hazel, like this tool that you've come up with. I think you guys should definitely consider publishing this. This is great. I love it. Great job, guys.
Thank you, guys. Okay. Have a great day. Thank you, Hazel. We'll be in touch.